She won most talkative in high school, and she has been running her mouth ever since. Welcome to the Lisa Fischer Said Podcast with your host, Lisa Fischer.
Okay, never have I ever talked to the peptide expert. And you're not just a peptide expert. You are the peptide expert. How did you did you go to peptide school? How'd you get your credentials?
There's no peptide school, but I have trained about 1,500 doctors on, the mechanisms of action behind peptides. And you learn a lot of it if you study human biology, you start understanding that all these pathways in physical expression are governed by peptides. And the way I got into it, Lisa, is kind of interesting because I grew up on a cattle ranch in Idaho, and God's country, no doubt. And beautiful cattle ranch. We had about 1,000 head of Black Angus, and I used to race dirt bikes and play football. The only way I could get out of farm work was making football teams, sports teams. Yeah. And so I had a lot of concussions, but I did a treatment for my brain called intranasal stem cells. And so I was at the stem cell conference, and Arnold Kaplan, who's like the guru of stem cells, he's passed away now, unfortunately. This was 12 years ago. And after I treated my brain, I had pretty severe ADHD. I was the kid in class that couldn't sit still, but school was, you too. Don't you love being that kid?
And well, that was a lot of fun. I can tell you that.
You're still a lot of fun too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We need people like us.
That's
but
right.
all they want to do now to our kids is medicate them. And right. I have a son who's 2 sons just like me, and we're like, no, that's their superpower. We're not doing anything that's going to mess with it. But my concussions, they did create some problems. But after I had my brain treated, I slept 11 hours. It reorganized all my thinking, got rid of any brain fog, and I wrote books. I started creating medical curriculum, and I wanted to perpetuate the stem cells' impact on my brain, and that's where I got into peptides.
So stem cells, I'm writing this down, are downstream from the peptides, or do peptides activate the stem cells?
It's a great question. So so we use stem cells from healthy donors, and these are mothers who are undergoing a C-section birth. The lab is in Texas that we utilize, and they can't no COVID vaccines just because we don't know what.
You don't even have to say why, because period.
Okay, fair enough. It's just not safe. I mean, we have pretty darn good evidence now that we can say that with authority. But yeah, so there's 261 peptides in each stem cell vial naturally occurring. So peptides, just think of a cell like, a cell is every cell has an expression that relates to a bigger part of your body. So like you have liver cells and kidney cells. And then what those cells do is those cells secrete smaller molecules like extracellular vesicles and peptides and hormones. And so these are the communication networks. So peptides would be downstream from cells, but they turn on, they bind on the surface of a cell and turn on an expression so that you can age slower, you can have more energy, you can increase your libido, you can help get rid of pain. They're regenerative.
All right. So Novo Nordisk did not invent the peptide. The nice people at the Ozempic factory in Scandinavia.
Nope. They did not. That's actually GLP-1. So that peptide is naturally occurring in your body, and it gets broken when you have access to food all the time. You don't really understand how to sense when you're hungry versus not hungry. And if you're eating processed foods, you're going to break it too. It's going to break really quickly if you're eating foods that our body doesn't recognize. And we have more chemicals in our foods now than we ever have. I mean, our diets in the last 50 years have changed more than they have in the last 10,000 years. So, wow. So GLP-1 is a magical pathway. And yes, there's pharmaceutical companies. You can patent the administration of it. And this is where people ask me a lot, like, well, don't they have a patent on this? Well, you can't patent something that's natural, but you can patent the administration of it, which is what they've done. The dosing is higher than where we'd like it. People are losing muscle mass. They're having digestive issues, pancreatitis. And it's just because they're trying to out-peptide a poor lifestyle. You know, no matter how good the agent is, whether it's stem cells, peptides, supplements, herbs, if you're sedentary and if you're not eating the right foods, it's going to catch up to you.
You know, what worries me is if we look at things that are naturally occurring, we do make GLP-1. I make a lot of it. I call it the bell that rings. It tells me I'm satisfied. I have a high satiety because I've been working as an intermittent faster for years, and I eat a high, pretty much a meat-based diet, so protein-based diet. So I can't overeat. So my husband and I talk about it. I go, oh, my GLP-1 just rang. I'm done. And so I finish the meal. And what worries me is the barrage of GLP-1 that is then released when you're taking it synthetically in a peptide or, you know, through your abdomen, however you're doing this, that then it's pushing it out all the time. That's not how God designed us. God designed us. And Dr. Fung teaches this so well when he talks about satiety hormones and cholecystokinin and leptin, you know, in the brain, this magical part of the brain that God created us for times of hunger. Hunger's good. It's healthy. And satiety with leptin. And so we're tricking that, like you just said. Did you say you out peptide? You can't out peptide. You know, we used to say you can't outrun a bad diet, or you can't but you can't out peptide really. Your diet environment. We have to talk about light that's involved that also communicates, you know, quantum biology with the brain. So it just makes me crazy to think so much of what we're talking about, and what the media talks about, how they grasp on all these people who've lost all this weight. They look silly. Their faces hang down, you know, to their chest practically, is that so much of this you can get for the low price of free by getting sunlight, by eating foods that are high in fat and protein, or however, you know, you can best, you know, metabolize that. And so do you think it compromises their ability then to make, because these people can't ever get off GLP-1 agonists forever. It's just a Band-Aid.
Yeah. So here's the thing is, you know, I've been at this game for 21 years, health optimization. You know, we just want to help people get healthier, feel better, look better, perform better every year of life. You know, I think aging is you know, kind of a misnomer because it's there, you know, we can't even define it clearly. But if you look at GLP-1s, you want to look at it holistically. So just like our bodies stop producing hormones at a certain age, like, you know, at about the age of 35, it just feels like the universe wants to recycle us. It's like, hey, Regan, get out of the way. Now here comes the aging machine. And that looks different for every single human, but you can circumvent that. And GLP-1 is one of the neurotransmitters and one of the peptides that does get dim as we age. We don't have the same appetite. This is where ghrelin, you know, you talked about leptin. The other side of that pathway is ghrelin, where you can, you know, you want some good hunger in your life, and being hungry is actually a sign that you have repaired your gut. This is like, I'm sure you've read Circadian Code by Sachin Panda in your intermittent fasting, but yeah, this is, you know, you want to give yourself times of fasting and times of eating. You want to have one day a week where you're in more of a caloric restriction. The other days a week, you know, I call it the protein fasting day, where you're doing 50 to 100 grams. The other days out of the week, you want to be up there with 1 gram per pound of body weight. And that seems to be the sweet spot.
Very hard to do, though, because of that signal that tells my brain I'm satisfied.
Yep.
I'm just telling you, I've already had eggs today. I'll have beef tonight. And I mean, I hope to get to 75 or 100 grams, and I weigh 150 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just hard.
It's so hard. And if you're on a GLP-1 agonist, then a lot of people, they lose their appetite. And that's why their bodies get so wrecked. And
this is what I want you to say. It's not a good thing. Losing your appetite is not necessary. And I do know that people complain of food noise, and it helps them suppress this food noise. But having a suppressed appetite all the time, you'll be pushing daisies before you know it.
Yeah. Well, then that's why I went into ghrelin, because I'm like, you want some hunger in your life.
Yes.
And so I appreciate you bringing that up. And GLP-1s, we do microdosing. So here's the research on GLP-1s that's fascinating, because you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think it's the biggest medical breakthrough since antibiotics from a medical side, because there's never been an opportunity that we've had that's not dependent on human behavior, right? You and I, we are very into health, and you're obsessed with it just like I am. But the thing is, not every American is, not every human is, and we have more metabolic disease. We're more likely to die of obesity than you are of starvation. That's never been the case.
For sure. That's right.
In millions of years since humans have been on walking on the planet. So we have a different crisis, and this solves that crisis. But with any drug that's for profit, and there's pharmaceutical companies behind it, they want you on it the rest of your life. They're going to put you on way too high of a dose. They're not going to emphasize lifestyle and diet. Yes, there's going to be the platitudes of make sure you eat healthy and exercise more, but
whatever. Right.
But what we've seen in the literature is there's a study called the Pioneer Study, and they found that it reverses a lot of cardiovascular disease. It not only does it help with diabetes, which it was first indicated for. It wasn't a drug that was approved to treat obesity until recently. But we've also found that it helps cognitively. So with cognitive function, your brain has GLP-1 receptors. It helps with kidney disease. There's even a study out of JAMA that they found that it reduces the osteoarthritic response in patients who have knee issues.
I know I don't want to play devil's advocate, but so does intermittent fasting. So does eating less, fewer times and putting your fork down. So I've done all that for free.
Oh, and Lisa's got the best point of the day is yes, but for those of you who don't have willpower of an Olympic athlete.
No, it's not that anymore. I mean, I do think mindset has something to do with it. But it's also, it's breaking the addiction cycle of constantly eating. As a thyroid patient, my endocrinologist, because he is a diabetic educator, told me to eat 6 times a day.
Yeah.
That put me on the roller coaster of what goes up must come down. It's the blood sugar, this and that. Yep. And once I tamed the beast, and it really just took a few weeks. And I'm not strong. I mean, it just started to make sense because I started feeling better because I started producing, and I'm not doing this to point the attention to me at all. It's just saying, if you can get some dumb oaf like me, who is just a radio TV goofball, if you can get me to do it, you can get anyone, any monkey can do it. And that's kind of the point, is I was the person who was thinking all day about my next meal. I don't think about my next meal now until that bell rings. Remember my imaginary bell that said, I go, oh, it's time to eat. Yeah.
My GLP-1 just went off.
And the bell that says it's time to eat again. Because I don't look at a clock.
Yeah, that's great.
I listen to my body, but I'm saying I did all that without spending $1,200 a month for the rest of my life.
And that's the ideal. And so we cycle patients off this. I don't think anyone needs to be on it the rest of their life. But I think in the beginning, momentum, as you know, in a healing journey, if you can get a win early on, then people start feeling really good. And they're like, okay, I want to stick with this lifestyle thing because I'm looking in the mirror. I'm looking better. I'm feeling better. I'm sleeping better. I mean, all those things are really important. But that's the cool thing about peptides. I mean, this is just one peptide in hundreds that we use. And it's the most popular one, but it actually got people looking into these because peptides are, in my opinion, they're safer than what you'll find with supplements, with herbs, and they can help mitigate what you're doing. Like in fasting, you can use a peptide called FOXO4 because one of the things you want to do when you fast is you're trying to clear out senescent cells.
Right.
And clearing out senescent cells, for those of you who don't know what they are, these are the cells that spit out all these inflammatory molecules, and they signal to your body that, hey, Reagan's aging. But if you can clear those out, then what you get is this repopulation of your own stem cells. And FOXO4 is the natural way that your body does that. And so you can supplement with FOXO4. Another peptide, if you use when fasting, is called 5-amino-1-MQ, and it was discovered out of University of San Antonio in Texas, 2016, 2017. And they found that there's a pathway called NNMT, and that's the pathway where we tend to put on more fat. It's called lipogenesis. And so it turns off that pathway, and then your body starts using fat as an energy source. So you get the mitochondrial.
That does target then my people, the menopausal woman who, no fault of her own, she has ovarian failure, and then cortisol shows up, though wasn't invited to my party, but showed up anyway. And then other things that are fat storing. I mean, insulin obviously being a fat storing hormone, but I believe that cortisol probably is too. So those are things you could do to manipulate the natural progression of ovarian failure and some other things that happen, especially in females, right?
Totally. Yep. Yeah, those are really good solutions. And to your point, cortisol, if you have too little of it, that's your major anti-inflammatory hormone. It's really important to have a good pulse of it in the morning, but then you want it to calm down. And a lot of my menopausal women, they are shot. Their adrenals have just been beat up over the years. And insulin is an important one too, because Lisa, you bring up a good point. If your insulin isn't regulated, like you can look at your hemoglobin A1C, it looks perfect. But if your fasting insulin is high, you're going to be storing all that excess sugar as fat. You're going to break down muscles.
And when you say high, not what your reference range says, because there's no medicine for it, so your doctor really doesn't test it. But you're talking about something over 6 or 7, right?
Oh, over 5. That's the big cutoff for us. Yeah, in the functional medicine world is you want to narrow the ranges, because all your blood labs are doing for the most part is they're like, oh, okay, do you have a disease that's diagnosable, and can I warrant writing out a prescription for you? And you have to be really sick to be able to diagnose a disease. And so when you're looking at your health optimization, you want to run your insulin much lower than that. You want your pancreas to work as little as possible.
Right. Give it a rest and everybody's happy. Okay. Let's talk about then. I've got some written down. So all the gym bros love BPC 157, right? That's the recovery one. Do women use that one as well?
Oh, 100%. Yep.
Okay. Tell me about that one.
So it was discovered in Croatia at a university there in the 90s, and they were looking for a single molecule that every cell in the body depended on for rejuvenation. And they found that every cell in the body needs BPC 157. It's made by your stomach, so gastric secretions, so it's naturally there. And as they started doing studies on it, they found that in one study, they ruptured the Achilles tendon of a rabbit. And one group of rabbits got saline injections. The other got BPC 157. They found that with the BPC 157, it healed up about 3 times faster. BPC 157, it releases nitric oxide, so you get better vascularity in your body. It's one of the most important signaling gases it helps with oxytocin, so you'll feel more connected with people. We've used it for congestive heart failure, athletic injuries.
Depression. If it gives you oxytocin, you could use it in depression patients, right?
And there's been studies. There's actually, even for traumatic brain injuries, there's been studies where with mice, they induced a head trauma, and they found that the mice that had BPC in their water versus the ones who didn't, they were able to outperform them in memory, and they could make it through the maze faster. They were more social. So BPC is very protective. It's angiogenic. It's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of peptides, because you can also use it for colitis. And that's one of the studies they did in Croatia as well, is they said, well, what does it do to the gut? So if you've got leaky gut or any kind of autoimmunity, BPC 157 is a phenomenal peptide for sealing up those tight gap junctions.
Are all of these that we're talking about then used through intramuscular, through injections, or some do you take them in a pill or a dropper or any other way? How do you administer them all?
Yeah, well, BPC is interesting. It's a rare peptide that you can take it orally. You can do it as a subcutaneous injection. You can inject it deep into a joint. I mean, I'm not recommending you do that on your own, but or you can use it topically. So we have patches that are iontophoresis. And so then you get this steady stream of BPC, because once again, it has a short half-life. And so with the iontophoresis patches, you have a continual drip of BPC throughout the day.
Now, there's one that will sound like I'm saying melatonin, but it's what is it's
melanotan.
The one that makes it, yes, it's the Barbie peptide, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they just call it the Barbie peptide or something because people were getting darker? Melanotan. So what's your opinion on that?
Love melanotan. I've used it for years. I mean, it's how I can protect my skin against sun damage. I live here in the mountains in Park City, like we talked about, and I'm not a big fan of sunscreen. Our incidences of skin cancer has just skyrocketed since we started using it.
Right.
But melanotan does have some protective properties. It works on what's called the MSH pathway, or melanocyte stimulating hormone pathway.
Right. Which is what we get. I know those of us that love quantum biology in the sun talk about getting that during vitamin D. So that is something that is naturally occurring.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's produced that way. So do you take it through injection, or how do you take it?
It's an injection, and this one there's just the oral capabilities. It's too fragile of a molecule, and so the peptides, they get degraded too quickly. And there's melanotan 1, there's melanotan 2. Melanotan 2 is a little more protective because what that MSH pathway does, not only in vitamin D utilization, but it's really important if you look at the immune response. So it helps protect you against mycotoxins. So any mold in the environment, it's phenomenal for that. It activates the sexual function. So in one of the studies, the men didn't want to give it back because they had these like crazy erections. And so you got to be careful because you can have some spontaneous erections if you're using high dose.
Ask your doctor if melanotan is right for you. Remember that was on the Viagra ad for years.
I do remember that. Yeah. And the side effect, they're like, this is amazing. But melanotan is, and they were dosing it like 13 times higher than what we'd ever dose it at.
Those of us in the vitiligo family have heard about melanotan because it could help my melanocytes wake up. So that's why that is one I have considered. Have you seen any reversal of vitiligo with it? Do you know?
Yes. But there's other things. So if you do like, cleaning up the gut, which I'm sure you've done stool tests, and then fecal matter transplant, you re-inoculate your whole gut, and then you do melanotan and KPV. You got to do it with KPV. That's really important.
Now, what is that one? The KPV?
So KPV works still on that MSH pathway, but this peptide is made in your gut, and it's 3 peptides only. It's a bioregulator, and what KPV does is it regulates the inflammatory response. It also helps. They've done studies with there's vitiligo, there's psoriasis, eczema. But it helps to regulate that MSH pathway similar to melanotan does. But it also works on the gut lining, which melanotan doesn't.
I wonder then if it has. So vitiligo is also kind of first cousin sometimes to eczema and alopecia. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if it's the same pathway, because a lot of vitiligo patients also have alopecia. I've had spots, like in my eyebrow and on my scalp. So I'm just kind of wondering, I bet there is some research to back that up, that it would be, because it is the same pathway. Just throwing that out there for anyone listening.
No, it's it. And you want to look at your mycotoxin levels, because yeast, fungus is like a really important component, and parasites.
We all have parasites. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, we all have parasites.
Yeah, now, absolutely. But certain types of parasites are going to drive vitiligo more than others. And then you got to regulate that Th1 and Th2 response. And so that's where like thymosin alpha 1 is one of the best peptides that regulate the immune response.
How do we measure mycotoxin levels? I don't even know that answer.
You can do it through urine, and you can look at all the different molds and mycotoxins, aspergillus. You can look at everything. You can do it through the urine, or in the blood, you can look at antibodies.
Oh, all right. And then parasites. How do we measure parasites? I've done it through, I think, a hair sample.
Hair is not going to be accurate. Stool
Okay.
is the best way.
Okay.
And but ideally, you want to do your stool test during a full moon, which is when parasites are the most active. And so the best way is if you have a lab right there and they can see your stool in real time. But
Well, I don't. I'm good, but I don't
nobody
have a
does.
lab right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
good.
you can send in a stool sample, and that's where you can see the all the protozoa, all the Klingons that you don't want there.
Well,
That's
I know what you could do. Once when I had a child who had like itchy butt, the doctor
yeah.
said
Oh yeah,
at
put the
night,
tape.
and or he said you can get a flashlight under the covers at night in a full moon, and when this diaper off,
Yep,
they come
you can see
outside. That's right. So that's a way to really be amorous with your partner. Hey, can you get a flashlight? And
it.
yeah, I tell you. Okay, let's keep going. I've got my list here of all the things we want to go over. So we've talked about recovery, and that's BPC 157. What about creatine? I just heard somebody say, I'm just doing 5 grams a day, but maybe we could bump that up. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I just did a deep dive into creatine on my YouTube channel, and if you want cognitive benefits of creatine, you want to go up to about 20 grams. The problem is most people are going to end up with disaster pants from it.
Oh, yeah.
And
Dave Asprey has taught us what that meant.
it irritates things, doesn't it? And so you just want to sip it throughout the day, which is totally fine. But really 5 grams is kind of minimum. You'll be better at 10 to 15 grams for muscle building.
All right. Yeah, because I do lift now 4 days a week. So maybe I could bump up. My husband does 10, and he's been a weightlifter for, 50 years. But I always thought that was kind of a bro science thing too. That's what the guys in the, Gold's Gym did in the 80s. But you're saying women in 2025 can bump up, and we won't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger did back then. Pump you up.
You wish. No, it's not that easy,
Yeah.
but creatine of all the supplements is the most heavily studied. And it's the only supplement that you can like lean on science and say, yeah, it's safe and it's effective.
Okay, good. Now there are some other ones I know, the peptides for weight loss. So if we've gotten the GLP-1 agonists out of the way, and I know they're GLP-2s and 3s and GIP. So we've covered all that family. What else do you have in your magic bag there that people, because that's often the first thing people ask about, I bet, or women over 40 that say something's happened. I've put on 20 pounds. Nothing has changed. What are some other ones you lean on?
Well, yeah, if you think of the weight loss goals, so growth hormone releasing peptides like testosterone is a really powerful, it's 43 amino acid chains. It was FDA approved in 2012 to treat lipodystrophy. So that's the accumulation of visceral fat. And they found that testosterone, you will selectively target visceral fat better than other peptides. You're going to gain muscle. Cholesterol was lowered in many of the subjects and studies. They even took men who were over 60 with mild cognitive decline, and testosterone actually helped improve their executive function, their articulation. They also had better verbal composite scores in the studies. And so that's a really good one. We call it the six-pack peptide, because if you want to build muscle and if you're just changing body composition, testosterone. Another one that is newer, discovered out of St. Louis University, is called SLUP 332. SLUPP 332.
It's like you're making these words up.
It feels like it. I mean, it's just like numbers and letters. Like my wife's always like, you need to rename the peptides. I'm like, well, I just can't rename them. Like it's
right.
But this one is fascinating because it actually is on the estrogen pathway, and there's these estrogen receptors, and estrogen, as you may or may not know, I know you know, Lisa, but you listeners, you may not know, like, well, estrogen's actually really involved in the metabolic process. And if you have too much estrogen, you tend to accumulate more fat in the thighs and in the hips. If you have too little estrogen, you start to have brain fog, and there's detrimental impacts to your skin health and your muscle building. but there's one receptor on these estrogen chain, and it doesn't do anything with estrogen, but it works at controlling the metabolic function in your body. And so it selectively uses fat as an energy source, and that's where Sloop 332 comes in, because it's an exercise mimetic. In the studies with mice, they found that after a single administration, mice could run 70% farther. They've also seen that it helps regulate sleep, circadian rhythms. You do it every 12 hours. They found that weight loss and metabolic function was improved. And so this is another one that's very exciting.
So if Salt and Peppa get back together, they can do the Sloop 332 song. For those of you going back to the 90s and early 2000s.
Sloop.
Right.
Yep.
I know I'm not the first person. I get the low hanging fruit. I know I'm not the first person to mention that, but to hear it, you just go, well, the last time we heard that was Sloop. Sloop. Okay. So we've done weight loss. Okay. Now, I usually say this to the end, but there's some other ones we're going to get to, and people are hanging on the edges of their Teslas asking this, where do we get these things?
Well, you don't want to get them online. You don't want to go to like research place.
That's where everybody's been going.
I know, it's so dangerous. Like, people are ridiculous. If you have to lie and say you're a research facility to buy these things.
That's what someone told me. She said, if you need someone, because I'm a health coach, get your clients to get, she said the words, you have to make sure it says research facility. And I believed her. No, that's how 80% of people get their peptides, and it's dangerous. It's not, I mean, it's just you want to get it from a compounding pharmacy, find a doctor that can prescribe these and knows what they're doing, because I'm really big into, biohacking your health, get your health optimized, but don't be ridiculous with it, because peptides, it's an investment, first of all. And you may be not getting what's advertised on the bottle. I mean, we've tested some of these, and it's fragments of the molecule. So people are like, oh, peptides didn't work. I'm like, well, where did you get it? What was the source? Because it's a real art these are covalent bonds, and peptides are folded in a very particular way to mimic what happens in your body naturally. And there's very few compounding pharmacies. There's 3 pharmacists that I trust and that I know, and that's it. So that's where we prescribe all of our peptides through. But you do need to work. You got to get your blood labs ran first. You need a full medical makeup. You just don't want to play around with peptides. Your facility, East meets West Health, is that the name of it? Did I get
EastWest Health, yeah. And
I'm sorry, EastWest Health. Now, I know you are coming to Arkansas. We're going to try to air this right before you come. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing so we can kind of push that, and then I'll ask some other questions. Yeah,
so we've got agelessfuture.com is where you guys can find this, and we'll provide some links too. But we're coming to Arkansas. We're going to put an Ageless Future Center there with Tanya Mead, one of our great collaborators and friends, and she's been a phenomenal client.
A guest on the Lisa Fischer Said podcast, talking about, she's the mother of 2 type 1 diabetics. Not one, but 2 type 1 diabetics. 2. That's crazy.
Yeah, and she's such a good human. And,
she's a doll.
And so, in Little Rock, we want to bring some opportunities for innovative medicine. I call this Medicine 4.0. And so we'll be hosting an event September 6th and 7th. We're going to have 2 groups. So there'll be one group's already sold out. And so we have the second group available. So if you're interested, people can go to agelessfuture.com/Lisa Fischer.
Good. FISCHER. Put all that. You have to tell your people, and I'll tell my people, and we'll get all that put together, and we'll try to drop this in early in August. Okay, so because let's say many of my listeners are from Arkansas. You can see on a map, but hey, those of you listening in Scandinavia, thanks for showing up. But for those of us in Arkansas, or those of us in the U.S., do you help us find a provider who will write this? Because if I took this to my provider, I might as well bring in hieroglyphics from
absolutely.
The early. He would not have no idea what I was talking about.
Yep, we have licenses in all 50 states. Our clients who live in Europe, It's tricky because typically you have to come to the United States so that we can get your agents for you. But we have a lot of clients in all over Europe, South America, Mexico, Canada. And it's just, if you plan a trip to the United States, we can get you everything you need.
All right. Good. Okay. So we've done weight loss. I would say cognition is something else as our hormones wax and wane through our years, including thyroid. That's a sign of low thyroid is cognitive decline. That was one of my big symptoms in the beginning. Vitiligo is obviously most often connected with type 1 diabetics or Hashimoto's thyroiditis, but I would say cognition is something that we all want to improve. What are your recommendations with the peptide for that?
Well, let's just start with the cause. Like if it's gut related, thyroid related, make sure you're treating the root cause there. But if you're just looking to optimize it and maybe have brain fog, there's a group of peptides called racetams, and these are nootropics. And racetams have been around for 40 years. And my favorite racetam is called Noopep. It's Noopept. And ombaracetam is the name.
Again, you're making up words, but whatever. Go ahead.
That's just fun, isn't it, Lisa?
Yeah,
Regan's making up a new language. But what it does, what they found is it helps integrate left and right hemispheres of the brain. It's a dopamine agonist. So we use it with a lot of our clients who, we work with a lot of very successful entrepreneurs, and most of them have some degree of ADHD. As did you and I, and we still do. Right. And it's we love it. We love it. But what you want is you want to channel energy in your prefrontal cortex so that you can actually stay focused on the thing that you need to stay focused on. And the beautiful thing about Noopep is it helps integrate both hemispheres of the brain. You're going to see more acetylcholine. And so if you add in like alpha GPC, for example, acetylcholine, when you take these racetams, it just feels like you have another gear, like where you can focus in, you can be very clear. There's not a steep drop off if you have the choline. So those are some fun ones. There's one called dihexa. Dihexa works. It works on the angiotensin pathway. So nicotine is actually a really powerful nootropic. And really good if you've had long COVID. Nicotine is just right there. It's naturally occurring in food. I'm not recommending you get on nicotine or anything like that. Talk to a provider first, and absolutely don't get it with cigarettes or vaping. So, but dihexa, it works on the same pathway as nicotine without the addictive properties. And the original research was done on patients with Parkinson's disease, because that angiotensin, it's neuroprotective. So it activates BDNF. It also helps with dopamine, that's the big issue with the Parkinson's. And what they found is they wanted to find an agent that would stop the tremors. And dihexa didn't do anything for the tremors, but the Parkinson's patients felt happier. They could focus longer. They got their, you kind of get a blank stare with Parkinson's. That started to go away. Mm-hmm. But they stopped the studies, and that's how a lot of these peptides come out, is the pharmaceutical companies take it halfway and then they realize like we got to take this drug to market and make as much money as possible, and they abandon these really good substances. Dihexa is one of those, and you can feel a dramatic difference in your mental clarity with dihexa.
Now it seems like Dave Asprey did mention racetam or something. Is it RAC?
Yeah, ETAM.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. But we couldn't get it in the U.S. for a long time. It was like sold out or something. Does that sound familiar?
Yep. Racetams are very hard to access. So once again, you want to get it from a pharmacy. And so compounding pharmacists, if you have the right pharmacies, you can get it.
Where are the pharmacies that you recommend?
Well, we have just hired our own pharmacist and got all the licensing. It only took us about 2 years, Lisa. Right. It was easy.
I understand. All right.
And then there's one in Colorado that we use, and one in Texas. So 3 pharmacists.
Because, we have good ones here that maybe could help you when you're in Little Rock. We're a delightful group of people.
Yeah, well, I would happen to agree, and I think that it's not the issue because we can ship anywhere. So
Okay.
all we need to do is get blood labs. We can do consultation, see what someone's goals are, and then we have access to phenomenal medicine.
Okay. Because I have some people in my back pocket I can definitely introduce you to. All right. So would we say stamina then, would you say that's a different category than cognition? Yeah. Stamina is the
Big
energy.
time.
So what are some things you recommend for stamina then?
Oh man, there's so many great things. There's a peptide called ARA290, and everyone knows Lance Armstrong, and
Yeah.
is a phenomenal athlete. And people are like, oh, he got doping, and so he
So
got
what?
everything
Move
stripped
on.
away.
People
Stupid,
move on
yeah.
from somebody's background and the choices they made.
Yeah, but
It makes me nutty. I mean, he's a picture of health.
yeah, and everybody was using them anyway. He just happened to get caught. But
Right.
ARA290 is it works on a pathway called it's a erythropoietin
Oh.
pathway, and ARA290 will give you just supercharged endurance. But it actually, in the clinical studies, are using it for neuropathy, so diabetic neuropathy, peripheral neuropathy specifically, and it helps heal the small nerve fibers. But I climb a mountain here called Puke Hill. I'm a big mountain biker, and you ride up to elevation. You've got this 2,000-foot gain, and everyone pukes at the top. But man, ARA290, I was able to take 3 minutes off my climb time.
Wow. We've got to talk. So under cognition, would some of those things also apply to people facing dementia and dementia-like diagnoses?
Yeah, it's the tough thing is because intranasal stem cells, if you've got any signs, I mean, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Same thing with your brain. When it starts showing symptoms, it's really hard to reverse. But if you do intranasal stem cells, and then there's like growth hormone peptides, like I mentioned, testosterone, you'd combine that with like NuPep, one of the racetams, and then with dihexa. Like you got to hit all the different pathways. Like you just can't. You don't want to delay if your brain starts going.
For somebody then listening, I mean, I've written down a whole bunch of words that don't even make sense, from our new peptide to racetam to the sloop 332. I mean, it looks like aliens have abducted my notepad, but you don't take those every day, all of them, do you?
No, but I do a lot of experiments on my body. And so, but I'm cycling peptides. You'd never that's the thing is your biology adapts so quickly. And so you'd want to use these peptides for 30 days and then cycle on to new ones. And that's where you really want to work with someone who's skilled, because even with tirzepatide, the GLP-1 agonist, it's like, take a break on these. Don't let your body get conditioned. And that's what we've learned is where the magic's at. And when you start stacking peptides together, you're going to amplify the effectiveness of everything.
Now, have you written books? Have you been in movies that I don't know about? Do you have a Hollywood, star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame? Tell me about any of that.
Now that I've met you, Lisa, I'm hoping I can get to Hollywood.
Any minute now.
Yeah, I have several books, but the Peptide Blueprint would be most appropriate to this conversation. My newest book, Ageless Future, I'm hoping to have it out before the event.
Good.
And then I have another book, Never Stop Healing, Your Health Transformation, The Stem Cell Breakthrough, Brain Rejuvenation. But yes, and I have a podcast. I've got to get you on my podcast, Ageless Future.
I'm a delight.
You're actually really fun to talk to. I can't wait. Yeah.
Have you taken the Enneagram test? Do you
it's
know
been a
about
long
the Enneagram
time.
test?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes. What's your Enneagram?
I'm a 7. We're here for the free Chick-fil-A and the fun. I mean, I don't care about anything else, but you might be an 8 because bosses of the world are often 8s.
No, I'm a 7. I'm a 7.
You are 7. Then you have an 8 wing.
Yep, I have an 8. The strong and self-reliant is how I show up, but really I just want to have fun and enjoy life.
Me too. So I'm married to an 8 with a 7 wing, and that's why we're on year 37 because
how cool.
He bosses me around. And, But the thing about 7s, you can boss me around if you tell me why, if you explain to me what's going on, and then say there's a rainbow at the end and we're going to have fun. There's a pot at the end of the rainbow, rather. We're going to have fun. And that's why this week because this is so crazy. When you're married so long, we looked at each other the other day and said, I'm tired of eating the same foods because all we eat is beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. I mean, all day. And Chris, my husband's very funny. He goes, and y'all, please do not make this go viral, because he said it in jest. He goes, it's not like we want to date other people. We just want to eat other things. I go, I know. So all week he's very, very witty. All week we are going to lunch someplace every day, but because our diet is so small, not strict, but there just aren't a lot of things we eat. There aren't a lot of places for us to go. So we did have sushi yesterday, Mexican food, because you can have guacamole and beef, but we've probably run out of places now. Tonight we're going to a steak. That's it. We're going to a steak place tonight. But
how cool.
I guess the secret to our marriage is Jesus, and he's really funny, and food. So, and having a good time. We have a good time. We have fun everywhere we go. But this isn't about me. Thank you so much for doing this podcast. Great job today. I'm glad my friend Tanya Mead told me about you, and I see the enthusiasm you bring. That's the one thing about Enneagram 7s. We're very enthusiastic.
Yes.
We're your cheerleaders. You want us on your team, but we could only be on your team if we believe what we're talking about. I know you believe in what you're doing. So,
yes. And thanks so much, Lisa. You're just a delight to talk to. And
thank you.
I really appreciate your level of knowledge too. I mean, that's rare. And so cool. Can't wait to have you on my show.
I'm very inquisitive. So I was a journalist. I've been a journalist for almost 40 years, and truly journalism school were the kids that were interested in learning to tell you, not to give you their opinion. My professor is rolling in his grave. He just said, I want you to go to the city council meeting and tell me what happened, not what you think should happen or how they should have voted. You just tell me what happened, you know, and
that's a lost art.
It is. And journalism is dying. Some schools that used to offer it aren't offering it because now, AI makes it up. I mean, it's a scary time. It's an exciting, my son's an engineer, so he thinks it's an exciting time. But the skeptic in his family, his mother's going, no, I think it's a scary time because people are telling us and using your image, or it could be using my image to say we endorse something that never happened.
That we didn't endorse.
That's right. People be discerning. Always ask questions. That's it.
Yes.
That's my soapbox.
Love that. Awesome.
Thanks for being on and doing this.
Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to the Lisa Fischer Said podcast. Be sure to hit subscribe and download all the episodes and leave a review, won't you? The Lisa Fischer Said podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.